G'day guys and gal, there are so many cool and awesome moments from Warhammer 40k, I could literally write them down until my dick bled and my eyes exploded, which would take a while. But as I am a capitalist, I had a better idea. I thought why not pick 12 of the coolest, most badass interesting moments from Warhammer 40k's lore, and then bring them to life by getting a professional artist to draw each of these scenes, and then sell them via a calendar. Genius. So today I thought let's go over the lore from each of these awesome artworks I have had made, explaining the context behind them, at what point in the lore they actually occurred, and why they're so awesome. But before that, it's capitalism time, as I do want to show off the calendar itself. Now why calendars, Majorkill? Everyone can have a digital calendar for free that pings you with reminders and can be cross-synchronized. Well, sometimes just because something is easier doesn't mean it is better. A physical calendar is amazing for writing down actual key events, like birthdays or anniversaries, as opposed to meetings or appointments. You can also have this calendar displayed so you can be constantly reminded of these upcoming personal things, while also seeing some incredibly dope Warhammer artwork. We went extremely hard on the artwork, as you'll see in this video, ranging from Angron getting his brains bashed out in 4K, to Konrad getting decapitated in 4K, to the Dark King aura farming in 4K. All these awesome moments spread across 10,000 years, now for your gooning pleasure. The calendar comes in A4, which is portable and convenient, A3, which is designed to be displayed, and A3 Legendary, which features an extra artwork, a custom front and back cover, and is signed. This launches live only until the end of the week, and then it's gonzo. No more sexy artwork for you. We also have some leftover legacy merchant calendars from previous years, including the gooning calendars for you horny fucks out there, so you can bundle them into your order if you're feeling spicy. Link is below. Today we'll go over 12 of the most awesome moments from Warhammer 40k's lore, with equally awesome artwork to go alongside them. Let's get into it. We'll go in order of each calendar's month, and I'll be watermarking each image to make sure another YouTuber doesn't screen grab them and try to use them for their thumbnails and shit without crediting, which has happened a number of times. The actual calendars themselves are not watermarked. So that starts us off with Ghazghkull vs Angron. Now a few people might be scratching their heads at this scene, as this scene doesn't seem to exist in the lore, and that is more so because it is a predicted upcoming fight based on a fun fan theory, and I thought it was cool. The theory goes that Yarrick, the arch nemesis of Ghazghkull, was killed by Angron, with Ghazghkull then pulling a "nobody can kill Yarrick but me," which is honestly a pretty lore-friendly reaction. Ghazghkull and Yarrick always had a pretty memey rivalry, with Yarrick hell-bent on killing Gaz, and Gaz enjoying the competition they had going on. Gaz had spared Yarrick's life before, so their rivalry could continue. So hearing Yarrick died, and not by his hands, would send Gaz into a rage. People also think it'd be awesome to see Angron go up against someone just as big and angry as him for once, as opposed to always losing to faster, more level-headed opponents. The Orcs do need some more love in the lore, and getting Gaz to throw hands with Rage Incarnate would be a pretty great way to do it. I even threw in Yarrick's skull on Angron's belt for this. Come on GW, have some balls. Making Angron be the killer of Yarrick would give us two awesome lore points. Firstly, an epic battle between Yarrick and the Black Templars versus Angron and the World Eaters would be awesome. Secondly, a follow-up battle between Angron and Ghazghkull would also be even more awesome. It's a win-win here. The next awesome moment from 40k's lore is the first and only time we got to see Constantine Valdor fight a Primarch. The entire heresy, the lore was edging us with a Valdor Primarch fight. He almost fights Horus early on in a weird time flashback, he almost fights numerous traitors during the siege, he almost fights Magnus during the fall of Prospero, with many referring to Valdor as a Primarch in all but name. After all, the dude was the size of a Primarch. There was even a debunked fan theory that Valdor beat Horus in a sparring match, so we were pretty hyped when Alpharius' Primarch book, during a mock assassination of the Emperor that really pushed the definition of mock, Valdor intercepts Alpharius and the two fight, both wielding Guardian Spears. Alpharius was in tactical gear, Valdor in full warplate. The fight was very quick, but also quite even. Alpharius was pretty taken aback by Valdor's might and skill, as Valdor breaks Alpharius' guard and goes for a killing blow. Alpharius flipped over him to avoid it and threw out his own counterattack. He expected the strike to land but be turned away by Valdor's armor. Instead, he was shocked when Valdor managed to reverse his killing blow and bring his weapon around in time for a parry. The fight then ended as Malcador intervenes. Valdor insinuates in the follow-up conversation that he was slightly better than Alpharius. Alpharius muses that a rematch with him also in advanced power armor would make things more interesting and give him the edge. Now you may argue that Alpharius was using a stolen weapon and Valdor had his special Guardian Spear. However, Alpharius is a spear specialist and even remarks about how good the weapon feels, so I don't think that puts him in a disadvantage. Either way, an awesome iconic scene, as it's the only time we've ever seen Valdor pitted up against the Primarch, and it does seem to imply that he is comparable to them in power. After all, he did seem to have the edge in this particular duel, although it was against a young, untested and unarmored Primarch. Maugan Ra is my favorite Elder. The dude literally dispels all the Elder are gay rumors through sheer aura. He has done some pretty insane stuff, but his most notable achievement was taking out a Tyrannid swarm by himself, which could number in the thousands of Tyrannids or more. There was also another awesome scene where during the Tyrannid attack on Yandin, he killed a shitload of Nids, then 1v1'd a Biotitan and killed it in like 10 seconds. So I wanted to make an artwork that commemorated Maugan being the literal Grim Reaper of the Tyrannids. To make it more interesting though, I wanted to do it from the POV of a Tyrannid who was about 1 second from death. death, staring death in the face as its swarm was torn to shreds around it. Maugan has plenty of awesome artwork already, but just because you sleep with a sexy woman once doesn't mean you're satisfied and happy to stop there. This next artwork is a bit more niche and will honestly only be recognizable to us nerds who have read through the Horus Heresy, even the books people tell you to skip. See, there was a mission put together by Maugan Ra where the best assassins of each of the major Officio Assassinorum temples sent their best agents to go try kill Horus. The Eversor on the mission was especially badass and was called the Guarantine. He actually had a pretty cool personality despite being insane and was loyal to his teammates. The entire book he is constantly wondering if he could take on a space marine as he had never had the chance to test the theory. When the assassins take their shot at who they think is Horus, but in reality is just a space marine captain, chaos erupts as the sons of Horus try to track them down. The Guarantine and another team member ends up taking shelter in a house when a son of Horus barges in. The Guarantine launches himself at the space marine and the two fight. The fight is epic, showing the raw bulk and power of the space marine versus the frenzied speed and agility of an Eversor. Eventually the Guarantine would triumph, much to his delight, ripping out the space marine's throat. He would soon die after this, kamikaze charging at a space marine squad and taking most of them out before they killed him, which then caused him to explode and kill the rest. As far as I know, this was the first recorded kill of an Eversor versus space marine, establishing Eversors as more deadly than Astartes. This has been repeated numerous times in the lore, with Eversors actually becoming somewhat of a boogeyman to the space marines. There's even a scene where some trader marines are on a mission and they realize an Eversor has been released on them and they literally go, oh fuck, as it smashes into them and begins massacring them. Even when their Slaneshi expert duelist squares up, the drug addict only lasts seconds. But yeah, this scene always stuck with me. Eversors are dope as fuck. This next scene will hit hard for those that know. Garviel Loken absolutely fucking up Horus Aximand. This feud dates back to the start of the heresy. Both warriors were members of the Mournival, the sacred brotherhood of advisors to Horus. However, when Horus went traitor, Loken and Tarek stayed loyalist, Aximand and Abaddon joined their father in the heresy. The Mournival would actually engage each other in a fateful duel, Loken vs Abaddon, Tarek vs Aximand. Loken would actually get the upper hand on Abaddon, but he would break when Aximand decapitates Tarek, before then leaving Loken for dead. Loken would survive, going through hell to get back to Terra and turning himself into an avatar of vengeance. All the while, Aximand would hallucinate Loken, being taunted by his own guilt and the warp. During the Saturnine Gambit, where the entire Son of Horus command structure was baited into a kill zone, Aximand ran from the battle and came face to face with Loken. At first he thought it was a hallucination, but then Loken attacked and would brutally butcher Aximand, getting vengeance for Tarek. This vengeance would come in one of the last books, with one of the first books showing Tarek's death, so it was a highlight for sure. Now we have a moment from the lore that I was shocked there was no artwork of, so I credited the best there could ever be, the assisted suicide of Konrad Curze. Konrad was a slave to his own Farsight. See, while Sanguinius also had horrible visions of the future, Sanguinius believed the future could be changed, so he railed against fate and maintained his nobility and sanity. Konrad did not think the future could change, so anytime he saw a dark future, he would just go along with it, not feeling guilt as he believed it was preordained. This is why Konrad would always get terrified when he felt like his Farsight was being inaccurate, as if the future was changeable, it would prove he was an evil, sadistic piece of shit who had free will but decided to reject it. So when Konrad foresaw his own death, he embraced it, knowing to prevent it would prove everything he ever believed in as wrong. In his death, he felt vindicated, and to be honest, I do think he was pretty keen to die. So when M. Shen arrived to kill him, he told his guards to stand down and for no one to intervene. When she launched at him, he exposed his neck, her Catan phase blade cutting through it, one of the only weapons in the galaxy that could cleanly do the job. Thus Konrad would fall to a mortal's blade, gaining the peace he had desired all of his life. Likewise, there wasn't any good artwork of the Dark King, surprisingly, so now there is. When the Emperor arrived on the Vengeful Spirit to face Horus, he realized that Horus was way more powerful than he initially believed, as Horus had basically given himself retardation in order to mask his thoughts and true power from the Emperor. Thus the Emperor began greedily drinking from the warp, ascending to become the Dark King, a new chaos god of ruin who would easily beat Horus, but then also destroy the galaxy. The Emperor, in his arrogance, thought he could control the Dark King, use it to kill Horus, and then revert back to being the Emperor. But this wasn't possible. After all, his power literally killed all of his custodies around him by one, with the survivor being half dead anyway, and the Emperor didn't even realize he was doing it. However, when he encountered Alanis Person, his oldest friend, his rampage was halted in its tracks. Not out of love or sentiment, but because he was so shocked that in this time and place, he would encounter Alanius. The odds of that happening were so low they were basically impossible. Alanius told the Emperor to abandon the Dark King and fight as a man. The Emperor countered this logic and told him he could control the Dark King and he needed it to beat Horus. Alanius then did a 200 IQ move. He said, okay, with your godlike power and wisdom, analyze the Dark King and the outcome of you using this power. And the Emperor did it and was like, yep. Fuck, You're right. So he banished the power of the Dark King, healing his allies, freeing Rogel Dawn from a Cornite pocket dimension, and empowering himself as much as he could without becoming a Chaos God. The Dark King was described as a big black orb, so I wanted to capture that bit, but also make it a bit more visually interesting. Now this artwork isn't necessarily a single moment in the lore, but more so paying homage to Commander Farsight as he bisects an Orc war boss. There isn't too many people who have killed more Orcs than Farsight has. He's killed more Orcs than I have had shameful wanks, which puts it in the thousands. It's impossible to pick one exact awesome Orc killing moment over the rest, so I thought let's show a pretty unique angle of his handiwork, that being through the body of the slain Orc. Nice. Unlike pretty much all other artworks in this video, this following one isn't exactly the first time a fight between the Lion and Angron has been drawn, however it's by far the coolest. See, in their fight, Angron held a massive power advantage, with the Lion only being able to survive due to his cunning and the Emperor's shield, which could absorb and then fire back force. So basically, the harder Angron hit the shield, the harder it hit Angron back. After a solid duel, the Lion ends up on top of Angron after outsmarting the shit out of him. Before Angron can react, the Lion drives the Emperor's shield into his skull, the holy might of it bursting Angron's brains and banishing his brother back to the warp. Honestly, such an awesome way to end a fight. Now, the Months of Shame are an extremely controversial piece of lore, the stubbornness of the Space Wolves versus the stubbornness of the Inquisition, literally an immovable force versus unstoppable object situation, and the result was Space Wolves and Grey Knights literally murder fucking each other to death, which is wild. In one scene, the Space Wolves and Grey Knights attempt to parley to be diplomatic, however the Grey Knight commander uses this as a chance to bomb the Space Wolf ship in an incredibly shameful act. Loken teleports on board their ship and demands to know who ordered the treacherous attack. A shameful Grey Knight Grandmaster says it was him, so Loken proceeds to butcher him and then teleport back on board his own ship, kicking off all-out war between the two factions that ended up killing quite a few Grey Knights and a Lord Inquisitor, only ending when Bjorn woke up and raged so hard it calmed everyone else down. Nobody wanted to disappoint Papa Bjorn. I'm surprised no artwork of the Months of Shame exists, but now it does. A big question people ask is why the Necron's such a side faction, not really doing a whole lot. If they are the most overpowered and the only faction to maintain their strength from the war in heaven, why do they seem to do nothing? Why don't they seem to have much of an impact? I mean, if they won the war in heaven, a galactic war full of gods, why is the current setting giving them trouble? And the answer is that they're too busy fucking each other up. Imhotep the Stormlord and the Silent King have been throwing hands over a fundamental difference in how they believe the Necron Empire should go forth. So if you're wondering why the Necrons don't seem to be doing much, they're just doing it to each other. And finally, we have an extremely awesome Custodian Guard moment. So the Tyrannids are always evolving, and they decided to create the Norn emissaries, their new super weapon specifically designed to take out Imperial heroes. They sent one to try kill Lord Solar Leontius, quite literally the top general of the Imperium's armies. He had a Custodian Guard bodyguard led by Trajan Valoris himself, Captain General of the Custodes. When the monster attacked, it tore through the Custodians and knocked Leontius down. But then when faced against Trajan, it literally had no chance, as the Captain General tore it apart hack by hack. Now there is actually a really shit artwork of this already in the lore, but it's us, so I decided to make it fucking epic. The day we get to play the Custodian Guard in a Warhammer 40k video game is the day my pants will be forever creamy and crusty. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then pick up the Majorkill 2026 lore art calendar, which features all of the above artworks I showed and gives context to them. 1 week left. Join the Discord for more memes and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.